Good evening, my name's Chad Berge and this is my wife
Holly Berge, and we own and operate Berge's Beef in Colfax, Wisconsin.
We operate Berge's Beef and we started with 100% grass-fed Scottish Highland beef purebreds. We have done a little bit of crossbreeding with Angus, 100% grass, and we also finish our steers on grass and sell the meat directly to our customers. So we started Berge's Beef because we're on my parents' farm where I grew up. The farm was previously in row crops and my dad had roughly a half dozen Scottish Highland while I was growing up. And once I got out of college, I learned about grazing and I decided that we should take this farm and try to make it a little better. There was a lot of erosion occurring. And before we got started, we did an in-house business plan and ran the economics, and farming just really wasn't going to work unless we sold directly. So before we started, Holly kind of got me thinking she could go to a auction and buy junk for $1 and turn around and sell it for $5-10, which is a pretty good profit. And so we took advantage of her skills, and 7 years later we're selling grass-fed beef.
All right, and I did not know that is where that came from, but okay.
I thought of that today.
Now, there's a backstory. We've got to have the backstory, just a little bit.
This is the first time hearing of, okay, I don't know. I think it really depends on how you market your product too, and being relatable, just in general, no matter what you're selling, and being confident and just really knowledgeable about what you're selling. So maybe that's where the junk, the auction finds come into play, like knowing what to look for and all of that. Kind of relating to the Highland, something unique. I think people appreciate something that is more one of a kind that they haven't seen before. And on the direct marketing side, really forming a relationship with customers. And for most people, it's a pretty big investment. So kind of helping them understand and appreciate where their food comes from and, you know, who the people are that are growing their food. We, I think, have really started to appreciate that more and more, you know, as we keep doing this. With now we have our own chickens, so we have our own eggs, and keeping things on the local side really as much as we can. I think that you know, we try to portray that too in our business, and not being competitive. I think that might be a misunderstanding of when, you know, well, there's all these small farms, and aren't you worried about all these other people that are trying to take your business? But for us, it was what's natural, and I don't know, we really enjoy doing it the way that we're doing it.
So some of the things that we have noticed changed on the property so we've been doing this since 7 years, since we turned most of the farm from row crops into pasture or grass, is the infiltration rates is tremendous. We got an inch of rain here that came pretty quick the other night, and anywhere where there's usually low spots, we noticed that there was no water sitting in there. So all that water here, we've been kind of droughty this year, and it all went into the ground. The erosion, there basically is no erosion on the farm anymore. Where there used to be with row crops, we don't feed any grain, and with good rotation, the animals do more than adequate maintain their weight and on just eating grass. Those would be the main thing. The soil health has improved dramatically in just less than 7 years. So we raised the Scottish Highland. Most of ours are still purebred Scottish Highland, and the reason that we started with those, my dad got them. They're very hardy in this climate since we have cold winters. They do suffer a little bit now when it's hot and humid, so we do give them some shade, but they do very well on very minimal inputs, so they'll grow and gain on just not even the best of quality of grass. So that's one of the characteristics of the Highland. During the winter, with their long hair, they don't carry a lot of fat, so they're naturally leaner, but they don't need that fat per se because of their long hair to stay warm. So we do not actually, other than a little bit of a shed or some trees, we do not give them much for shelter during the winter, and they usually choose not to use it if they do have it, unless it's really windy or super windy. We do not have, in the 20 years that we've had them, we've never pulled a calf. They have very small calves that grow quickly, so we don't really worry about having a super short window. We just walk on the pasture, and usually there are calves, so we don't have to worry about that as much either. So overall, we basically picked the Scottish Highland and chose to stick with them just because they're low maintenance, and that's what you want when you're raising cattle on beef. I got started and learned throughout the years. I started learning about grazing when I worked for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I started writing grazing plans, started researching and learning more about grazing, and then wanted to take that to the next level and try it on my own. So as we've grown throughout the years, I've found other resources. Besides that, there's good NRCS publications out there. Recently I've been following a good resource to follow and subscribe to is On Pasture. They have thousands of articles on just about anything grazing. I also like to check in with Gray Judy every now and then. He has a YouTube channel and has a lot of good insight on grazing. And then
I know you don't, Chad doesn't get too worked up on the social media like Facebook, but I follow there's a couple Highland pages on there, and a lot of them will specifically talk about grass-fed or raising their Highlands on grass. So there's no shortage of networks out there too of information and just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. I know that we network and have conversations with other grass-fed farmers that we know too, that are in our area. So I think there's always somebody that can answer a question for us.